Hello again, everyone. So this video is going to be more in-depth on item creation. The last video was for mass creation. This video, we're just going to go over what everything is, and you'll be more equipped to make your own private server if you decide to do so. Okay, so let's start off. I'll have this link in the description. This is the Trinity Core Wiki, what basically all sources are built off of. So you got the class and subclass here. So if you wanted to make a weapon, the class would be 2, and subclass, they're all listed right here. So as you can see, this is a two-handed axe. If it is a two-handed axe, you also have to set inventory type to 17. Okay. Sound override subclass. I have honestly never messed with this. Special sounds on impact. That could be useful. Okay, so it sounds like you just set. So if you want your axe to sound like a gun, I'd assume you'd set this to 3. There's of course the name. The display ID you can get from itemdisplayinfo.dbc. We'll cover that in a future video on DBC files. But in the meantime, you can always just look through the database for an item that has the display you want, copy it, and paste it into here. Now on down to quality. Here's all the qualities. Honestly, we don't need to go into that anymore. Flags. So, I believe this is one of the things you have to set if you're going to make a BOA. Yep, you have to set quality to 7 and set the flags to this number. And also set bonding towards the end of this to 1, which is soulbound, but for some reason that's how the BOAs work. Flags extra, you can see it all right here. Flags 3, I will set up some additional documentation because this is specific to, I believe it started in MOP. Buy count, that's just how many will show up per purchase in a vendor window. So buy count 1 for something that doesn't stack makes sense. Now the buy price and the sell price. This is where it might get a little confusing for some people. If you want to sell something for 5 gold, it has to be 50000. So the first 2 zeros are silver and the second 2 zeros are copper. Now inventory type, you can see them all right here. So if you wanted to make some cloth gloves, for example, you'd go over here, class would be 4, subclass would be 1, because 1 is cloth. Inventory type would be 10. Allowable class and allowable race. These are bitmask values. Once these pages load, we'll kind of get into that. Item level, you know what that is. Required level, you know what that is. So required skill would be required skill ID. Oh, you know what? Of course that's going to be a problem. Classes and races. There we go. Looks like their links were messed up. So back to allowable class and allowable race. Bitmask values, so you're going to use these values here. So if you want Warlock and Druid to be able to use it for some reason, you would add 1024 and 256 together and put that value in here. If you want anyone to be able to use it, just do -1. The same goes for this. Use the value, not the ID, and add them together if you want multiple to be able to use it. Required skill and skill rank, that would be like requiring someone with enchanting and a certain level of enchanting to be able to use the item. Yep, and you pull the values from the skill line DBC file. And we'll just kind of go through this. So required spell, you have to have this spell to be able to use the item. Honor rank. And anytime you're confused about this, you would do something like required honor rank greater than 0 or does not equal 0. Does not seem like anything's in the database like that. So let's try it with the next one. Required city rank. Oddly enough, same with that. Oh, here's a teachable moment. I did an and instead of an or. So that would be the faction ID from the faction DBC file. And let's go ahead and cover this while we're here. Required honor rank. Knife of 1,000 lies. I don't think you'll actually need to use this in any situation. Okay, required reputation rank. Here is the rank list right here. So max count and stackable. If you set this to 1, it'll make the item unique, but you can also make it a higher number than 1 and it'll still be unique to that amount of items. So you could set it to 20 and only be able to have 20 on any character. Stackable is just how high the stack counts are. You can set this, I know you can get to 999. You can probably put it higher, but I don't think the client reads those values. Container slots is just for bags, so if you make a custom item that's just a bag, you can set this to whatever value. I don't know if you can go past 36. I think 36 is the max value. Okay, so we'll go down to stat values. Again, these might be a little bit different because I'm sure they added in some stat values in MLP. So I will set up some documentation on this soon. But, so 4 would be, I just memorize the strength. And 195, this, do not worry about. It's some kind of scaling that I don't believe is actually used in the core. Keep on moving along. Scaling stat distribution and scaling stat value are, as far as I know, just for BOA gear. Just so it can scale depending on what level you're at. Damage type, right here. Physical, holy, fire, nature, frost, shadow, arcane. Delay, of course, is tied to the weapons. So 3700 would be an attack every 3.7 seconds. Ranged mod range. So if you want to make a brand new item and not base it off of anything, you'll want to compare If it just happens to be a bow, a gun, a crossbow, a wand, you want to compare it to another one of those in game already and copy the ranged mod range from that just to make sure you're correct. I believe it's normally 255. So if you want to add spells, here's where you do it. And there are multiple different triggers you can use. Most of the time you're just going to use on use, on equip, or chance on hit. These, I'm sure you can figure this out. Spell PPM rate. This may have actually moved to item template add-on instead of item template. Yeah, it looks to be that way. So if you want to set the PPM rate, just make sure you do it in item template add-on. So bonding. Course 0 would be no bounds at all. Again, if you make a BOA item, you have to set the flags, you have to set the quality to 7, and you have to set bonding to 1. Description, you know what description is. It shows up in-game in yellow text at the bottom of the item tooltip. Page text would be, it pulls from something called page underscore text in the world database. In fact, let's go find that real quick. Yep, right here, page text. So this is almost exclusively used for books, scrolls, that sort of thing. Okay, we'll go back into item template, language ID. This is the language that the text is written in. You can pull this from languages DBC file. Page material. You can look at these in the page text material DBC file as well. It'll just set a different background when you go to read the item. Like, I believe one of them is a Valentine's Day background, for instance. One's a gold background, one's silver, and one's the normal, just paper one. The start quest is, so if you right click on the item, it'll show a quest accept decline window. That'll just be the quest ID from quest template, which is right down here, which we will cover in a future video. The lock ID is tied to lock.dbc. Material. This normally just sets the sound. So like when you go to move something in your bag, you'll click it and then you'll click it again to drop it to the new slot. This will be the sound that it makes. In newer expansions, I believe starting in Legion, you have to actually set the sound IDs. And it's in the hotfixes.item table. Sheath is just where the weapons will, I guess, where they'll be attached to the body when you sheath them. So self-explanatory. Random property. You can look into this yourself. Same with random suffix. I've never actually used these, but I'm sure it would be good to have it on a custom server. Item set. So in the item set.dbc file, you can put the item set name, the spells that you gain from equipping so many of those items, and you have to put all the item IDs in there. In the world database, where is it? There used to be a table called item set names, but I'm not seeing it here, so we won't worry about it. Moving on. So you know what durability is. I believe you can set that to 0 to not have any durability. Let me double check here. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm just going to see, so it's small int and it's unsigned. If this box wasn't checked, you could go to -1, and that's sometimes what some of these things are set to. So, for example, allowable class. If you want all classes to be able to use the item, you do -1 instead of 0. But in this case, you'll just set it to 0 for no durability. Area and map, that's just the area ID and the map ID that you can only use this item at. So if you go in game, go to the area you want to be at, do .gps, it'll give you the area ID and the map ID in chat. Okay, bag family. So there are some bags in game that you can only put like mining materials, inscription materials in. This will set your new item to that sort of thing. So if you set bag family to 32, then this item can be put in like an herb bag. Totem category. It looks like this can be used for enchanting rods if you want to do something custom. Not just enchanting rods, but also items for engineering and all that. So if you try to make your own versions of these professions or add on to these professions to make them go higher and make new items, you would definitely need to do something with this. Socket color and content, you know what this is. So you set the color. So if you want a meta, you'll set it to 1 and 1. And just for the sake of this, if you want a yellow one, you do 4 for the color and 1 for the content. Content is always going to be 1. Just keep that a good rule of thumb. Okay, and I believe you can have a maximum of 3, so even if you set this to 1 and 3, then that's already the max amount you can have. Socket bonus. I believe that pulls from spell item enchantment.dbc. Gem properties, of course, pulls from gem properties.dbc. Armor damage modifier. I am actually not sure what this is used for. Duration. This is only going to work if you also set the custom flags. Which is that? Yeah, so flags custom will also have to be items flags custom duration real time. So you'd have to set that to flags custom. You'd have to set the duration in here, and that's in seconds. So if you want something that'll only last 5 minutes, you'll do 300 here. Again, these are mostly things you're not going to have to worry about. So disenchant ID, this is the, what would it be? Disenchant loot template? Let's go look up here right quick. Yep, right there. So it'll pull the entry from here. Now if we go back, we don't have much left to cover. Holiday ID will be in holidays.dbc. Currency. There's no documentation for this, so we're not going to worry about it. Required disenchant skill. So that'll just be the level your enchanting has to be at. So like, I think MOP has a max skill value of 575. So if you set this to 575, then of course you have to have max enchanting before you can disenchant it. Verified build And anytime you're making custom items, just set this to -1. 0 or -1, either one of those is fine, just to set it apart from the Blizz-like items, so it's easier to identify what's custom. Okay, and I believe we've already covered, yes, we've covered custom colors. That's just that line, CFF, and then this hex value. Then whatever text you want, which is 2 eyes in this case. Then do that solid line again, and a capital R. Again, not the capital R, the line that we're looking for is to the left of the delete key and above the enter key. If you hold shift and push that button, it'll give you that solid line. There is also one more thing that we're not going to cover quite in this video because I don't have the DVC editing programs set up on this VM yet, but there's something called item name description. It's a DVC file, and whatever you put in that text in the DVC file is what'll show up directly under the name of the item. It's actually great for doing upgradable items, so if you create an in-game item upgrader or use the one that we're going to have available in the MOP repack, you can set like can upgrade to show up directly under the name of the item. And with that, I believe we've covered everything. So again, thanks for watching. I hope this video helps you, and good luck on your servers or repacks.